such an interesting story. It is a simple two-letter word that a lot of us struggle to say, especially to our family, our friends, or our coworkers, no. But it's also necessary in order to say yes to yourself. And so joining us now with some tips is Gina DeVee, women's empowerment expert. Hello, Gina.
Hello, such a pleasure to be here.
I am so glad you're here with us because you and I were talking a little bit about this off camera in terms of saying no, especially for women, has never been easy.
No, it's not. We have been so conditioned to please everyone else except for ourselves. Our husbands, our bosses, our kids, our pets, and it's really time that women start prioritizing what's true for them and letting this two-letter word become part of the vocabulary.
Is that why we have struggled so much with no? Because we feel like as women we kind of have to be all things to all people because many of us work, we have families, we have children, they have needs. There's so much going on that we end up putting ourselves on the back burner, saying no to ourselves so that we can say yes to everybody else.
100%. And in the past, there have been really big consequences for not going along with the powers that be or the status quo. So, you know, women were burned at the stake, women were killed, women were ostracized. So we have this conditioning where we just want to stay safe, and we've gotten into people-pleasing, which I call the disease to please, which must end this year at the wrap of this decade.
That should be maybe the New Year's resolution for a lot of people in terms of learning to say yes to yourself. And one of the things we were also talking about off camera is that I have gotten very comfortable with no, not in a mean way, but if I honestly can't do it, I'm not going to give myself anxiety to say yes.
Or feel guilty.
Or feel guilty about. So what are some strategies that we can use so that that no is really a no, but not in a mean or aggressive way?
Yes, well, you're comfortable with it because you are a queen. And this is exactly why I wrote the book, The Audacity to Be Queen, because women learning to let their yes be yes and their no be no.
And feeling good about it, right?
Yes, it's better for everyone. Sometimes the most loving response is no. People feel great when you're actually communicating from an honest place, setting boundaries, and my biggest tip around it is the why behind it. You know, when we get too fast in our culture and we're just like, no, yes, you know, and going through the motions, but when you say, no, I'm not going to show up at this event, and here's why, not because you have to justify, but it creates a relationship of connection when you explain, or no, you can't have the day off, and here's why.
I think that's the biggest issue because a lot of times what women tend to do is say, let me think about it, I'll get back to you, when in your mind, you know it's a no.
Absolutely.
You know you can't do it because you've got other obligations, but we've been so hesitant to say no because maybe of a lot of things that you've been talking about, career advancement and other things like that, right? So in terms of women who are looking at this right now and saying, okay, I get what you're saying, but it's always hard to practice what you preach.
Yes, yes it is. Well, first of all, strength grows in increments. So when you start saying no to the easier things, it will be easier to say yes to the bigger things. And you also see 1 in 100 people actually know what they want. Like 1 in 100 Americans, that's the statistics, know what they want. And as women, we've got to be in that top 1%. And so if you're clear on what your desires are, you've got to say no so that you can live your purpose and manifest the desires in your life.
One of the things I want to ask you with about 30 seconds left is why did you write the book? What was your personal experience? Did you have trouble saying no? I mean, what was the situation?
Absolutely. Well, I was a big people pleaser. And what I've realized is that we are in the age of queen. Like women's empowerment, feminine empowerment, women really leading from this feminine place is what's going on. And so I'm obsessed with all things queen, and one of the qualities of a queen is let your yes be yes and your no be no.
We've got to wrap. What was your hardest no?
My hardest no was probably telling clients that I had to set certain boundaries within our programs because I didn't want the public disapproval. And I write about it in the book. It's actually a funny story.
Well, it's a great book. It's called The Audacity to Be Queen by Gina DeVee. Pick it up if you can. Gina, always good to have you.
Thank you so much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you.